must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Very good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for joining us again. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and today, right now, we are continuing with our conference here from the White Sands Hotel in Mombasa, a coastal city in the Kenyan coast, for those who are watching us and are not familiar with Kenya. And of course, today we had our conference, and our topic, I'll remind us, was the effects and solutions for African people during and post-COVID era on African economies. And earlier on in our early morning session, we had Professor PLO Lumumba give us his remarks there. And also, without much further ado, I'd like for Edward Kusewa to start us off in this afternoon session, and then that will be followed by a few other individuals. That will be Jevan Karanja, Douglas Kirimi, and then Patrick Mukanga, as well as Samuel Sawish. Then after that, I'll open the floor to the rest of our participants who are joining us on Zoom, and you'll have a bit of time to give us your thoughts. Thank you so much. So Edward Kusewa, take it away.
Thank you very much, Miriam. I don't know whether you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, and the audience are also saying for you to increase your volume, they're not able to hear you. And also, I want to share my screen. Could you please enable me so that I can share my presentation?
All right. All right, they will enable that. And on my voice, I'll try. I really can't speak out as loud as Dr. Matsanga, but I will try.
Okay, I want to share my screen, Miriam. Okay. I have a presentation, and thank you very much. Now I'll get the presentation moving. They have enabled me, and if I have problems with my...
Very well.
Yes, I'm just organizing my presentation. I think you can all see my presentation. Miriam,
Yes, we can see you're struggling to open it.
I've already opened it.
All right. Yeah, maybe it's a bit of a delay on our side, but you can go ahead and perhaps just start explaining what you have for us. Mm-hmm.
I cannot hear you, but let me continue. Okay, thank you very much. I really want to thank the previous presenters, Professor PLO Lumumba, who has eloquently presented. He's an eminent African scholar. We truly appreciate him. He's a Pan-Africanist. And indeed, he's a very key person in our continent. Secondly, I also want to appreciate Simon for bringing the concept of diversity and the concept of ethnocentrism that we normally call it in the universities. The effects and solutions for African people during COVID-19, during post-COVID-19 era, on African economies. And my presentation will cover the following areas. The first area of my presentation is how African countries are addressing structural vulnerabilities to the economic and health effects of COVID-19. Number two, I will discuss very importantly the role of the private stimulus in complementing the public response, both the fight and in the recovery efforts. Then I will also speak African countries, despite the economic, how a number of countries have recorded implementation thing, Miriam, am I back?
Yeah, you're back, but I think we're having a bit of a technical glitch on our part. Okay. Kusewa, can you hear me?
No, it was on my side, I think.
It is on your side, yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
So we're not able to fully see your presentation. All right. Are you able to just present without the presentation itself? I don't know how that is possible, but yeah.
To present without my presentation?
Just present with the presentation. We're having troubles projecting it. So can you perhaps take us through without it appearing on the screen for the interest of time?
Okay, then not a problem. I also want to speak about the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area to support greater regional trade, strategies of resilience, response, recovery in helping Africa and emerging economies. As to the introductions, starting point is Africa, of course, Africa is the home to relatively high number of low-income countries with very limited healthcare infrastructure. Africa experienced a challenging 2020 due to COVID-19. Strong antivirus, increased digitalization, and shifting global trade patterns could see the region benefit from the post-pandemic landscape. So will other regions, the resilience of African countries to the pandemic has often been linked to their respective levels of development. For example, South Africa ranked 34th and Kenya 55th out of 195 countries in the 2019 Global Health Security Index, which evaluates healthcare resilience. Many other placed further down the list. Morocco was ranked 68th, Egypt 87th, Nigeria 96, Cote d'Ivoire 105, Ghana 106, Tunisia 122nd, and Algeria 173 in the Global Health Security Index. Again, Africa's high proportion of low levels of household income has given rise to new fears that many people have been left without adequate financial support. The other thing is increased risk for a decrease in commodity 2020, especially for commodity-dependent economies, notably oil, minerals, and metals, affected these economics significantly. This impact was felt more in Nigeria and Algeria, where oil accounts for 90% of export revenue prior to the pandemic. Countries with significant tourism sectors such as Kenya, South Africa, Mauritius, Seychelles, Egypt, Morocco, and Tunisia were also in a vulnerable position with border closures and social distance measures, bringing global leisure travel to a halt. And that has been witnessed as you people are in Mombasa. You can see it. While various factors have limited the resilience of African countries, a large number have specific characteristics that help them deal with the crisis. Number one, countries with more developed digital ecosystems, such as South Africa and Kenya, were able to shift more effectively towards digital payments and online education. Another positive outcome for countries in Africa was related to demographics. as compared to most global economies, had a smaller proportion of citizens in high-risk health groups. Economies to the pandemic in Africa. So I want to slightly differ from what Professor and Simon says, that Africa was not prepared for COVID-19. That Africa's previous experience has greatly prepared many nations, especially in the ECOWAS, to quickly and effectively react to COVID-19. So you cannot say that African countries were ill-prepared to deal with COVID-19. We have had previous experiences with Ebola in countries like Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Cote d'Ivoire. That's giving them an impetus, better preparedness to be able to deal with epidemics or pandemics like the one we are facing. So a number of countries in Africa implemented lockdowns, typically consisting of curfews and travel restrictions for citizens and the closure for non-essential businesses. While African countries also responded to the economic fallout of the crisis, their financial stimulus packages were considerably smaller than those of more developed countries. So according to analysis from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the average stimulus funding from G20 countries was 22% of their gross domestic product. However, for those in sub-Saharan Africa, the figure was 3%. Furthermore, given the relatively smaller GDP of many countries in the support offered to citizens. Another response that happened in Africa during the crisis is what we are calling the private sector response. Government support, the business communities have played a key role in responding to the virus. African governments have embraced partnerships with all stakeholders, including the private sector and development partners. The ministries of health in Africa have been working closely with the World Health Organization on best practices and guidelines for managing the pandemic towards curbing the spread of the pandemic. For example, KEPSA, the private sector apex body in Kenya, formed a COVID-19 business response committee, bringing together key sector leaders and developed an economic management framework for COVID-19 response. The framework contains proposals for government and private sector intervention to address the impact of COVID-19 on businesses and the economy. Through this framework, KEPSA has engaged extensively with the government, including the cabinet and the president, which led to the economic stimulus package contained by the president on the 25th March 2020 and sent on April, has been involved in testing and providing medical care to infected people. A number of African governments have established a COVID-19 fund, which is private sector led, to mobilize resources towards the fight against the pandemic and affected Africans.
Okay, we apologize. We seem to be having a bit of a technical hitch there from Edward.
With medical expertise and urgent supplies. So what we are saying is they formed a crucial continent's immediate response to the pandemic. want to speak about the role of digitalization in the face of COVID-19. Another to the pandemic was the adaptation and expansion of digital solutions. To take an example, during the early stages of the pandemic, the Central Bank of Kenya announced that would
All right. Kusewa,
again,
we've lost a
the
few of
need
what
to
you said.
adhere. Yes.
We seem to be having a problem with your connection, so we've not even heard the couple of words you've said there. Your connection has a problem. It's not very stable.
It's not very stable.
Yeah, but just go ahead, yeah.
All right, I think we're having issues with connection, but it comes and goes off.
Just go ahead.
So
Go ahead.
can you hear me now?
Yes, continue.
Miriam, can you hear me?
Yes, continue.
Okay, in a minute.
All right.
Another key response to the pandemic was the adaptation of digital solutions. The early stages of the pandemic announced the banks would waive fees for financial transfers conducted via mobile banking. This was followed by an announcement from Safaricom, the owner of Kenya's most popular mobile money platform, M-Pesa, that all user-to-user transactions under $9 would be free for 90 days, and that the daily transaction limit for small and medium enterprises would be increased from $640 to $1,370. So the need to adhere to social distance guidelines also led to a spike in demand for online payment and delivery services. Poor people and small and informal businesses are having particular difficulties getting by, even with containment measures such as lockdowns and quarantines. The pace of this disruption is likely to accelerate in the months ahead. No country is exempt. In addition to the social turmoil in Africa that Dr. Lumumba spoke about and Simon spoke about, this crisis, the impact of the crisis on the economy may cause a major displacement of people. So there's urgent need to secure supplies of essential products, contain the spread of the virus, support health systems, stabilize financial survive. In the short to medium term, Africa will have to invest heavily. So I'm continuing, Miriam, my last part. The pandemic has put more attention on the world's digital divide. The internet is a vital communication tool that can help communities deal with the crisis. The technology sector is helping many industries adapt to this new situation and reduce the risks. But an estimate 900 million people in Africa are not connected to the internet. Only 27% of women in Africa have access to the internet, and only 15% of them can afford to use it. People who do not have access to the internet cannot receive timely information about the crisis. They also cannot get educated about preventive measures or benefits from what we are now calling telemedicine. Initiatives that allow doctors to diagnose patients remotely rather than in person. while drones in Rwanda and other countries prove to be useful in transporting medicines and other essentials to people living in the most remote areas. So as we seek to limit the spread of the virus with lockdowns and other safety measures and try to keep businesses open, the limitations of the technological infrastructure and the lack of investment become more apparent. In Africa, large companies that support local economies like banks, the mining industry or agriculture need to ensure that workers have internet access. Businesses also need sufficient capacity to run virtual private networks that enable secure teleworking, and they need to be protected from cyber attacks, etc. Despite some of the challenges facing African countries in 2020, the continent as a whole seems to have fared better than some other regions. So the key areas for recovery will be tourism as we move forward. So what we are saying is that a very important factor will be the resumption of travel and tourism. Tourism as an agent of recovery has equal importance to local economies on their foreign exchange earnings and the amount spent by international visitors ranging from the wineries, safari, cuisine and culture of Africa to the little visited equatorial jungles. Jobs, foreign exchange, and contribution to the gross domestic product. So how will African economies reinvent themselves? So I think one of the ways that the African economies will adapt is what we are calling the China Plus One. This is a new concept and a new model. The pandemic, so many countries and companies turn towards greater reorganization or regionalization, whereby regional countries the available.
All right, we seem to have lost Edward there. Bad connection, we apologize, but he was about done with his presentation. Edward, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, okay. Go ahead.
All right, if there's a problem with my internet connection, then I think we can continue with other presenters. Otherwise, I'm like done. Maybe the last part that I would want to speak is the African Continental Free Trade Area. If you can hear me, just 2 statements and I'm done.
Okay.
So what we are saying is, for the African recovery and for emerging economies to rebound back, the African Continental Free Trade Areas offers a unique platform for countries to start trading with one another. This is the best opportune time that has been brought by this crisis for Africa to reconsider their strategy and start regionalization and start trading with one another and look at what comparative advantages each country has and be able to offer. The biggest weakness in Africa has been that we produce the same products, same commodities. We need to start analyzing what are the comparative advantages of Uganda? What are the comparative advantages of South Africa? And say, if Uganda is producing coffee, then Kenya needs to produce tea. If Mozambique is producing maize, then Kenya, we can import maize from Mozambique. But very important to the Continental Free Trade Area, the rules of origin. Let us be careful that the protocols surrounding the rules of origin are kept, because we do not want countries importing from Brazil and saying that this is their product. Well, we very well know that this product is from another country. I want to rest there, basically because of my internet connection, but otherwise, Thank you very much for the opportunity. Back to you, Miriam.
Okay, thank you so much. That is Edward Kusewa from right here in Kenya. And for our international viewers, I see you engaged in quite a debate over there. Could you just, write some of the questions, and then I will post them to our speakers for the day. And so, right, I'll just go to Samuel Tawish, who is joining us at the shores of the Indian Ocean here in the coast of Kenya. Samuel Tawish.
Very well. Thank you so much, Miriam. Thank you so much, Miriam. And of course, the panelists have already made their contribution.
Yes, go ahead, Samuel. I can hear you.
Yeah, I was saying thank you so much, Miriam. And of course, the colleague panelists have already made their submission on this very important forum today. And I think largely listening into what Professor has talked about, what Dr. David Matsanga has talked about, Professor P.L. Lumumba, Edward Kusewa, and everybody else who has already made a contribution on this very important forum today. I think almost to a large extent share the sentiment that these great Africans have shared in as far as what we need to do as the African people, especially on this question of COVID-19 and post-COVID-19 era. And of course, because again, there's a lot of disruption that has been occasioned, of course, through this pandemic. And what is it that the African continent really do moving forward? Just making sure that perhaps as a continent, we are not going to be
Samuel, we're seeing beautiful pictures, but we can't hear your voice. Are you still talking?
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I think now I'm back.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Miriam. I think it was also just very important, really, to bring out those live pictures right here at the white sand, of course, beach. We are actually just adjacent or right just next to the beach itself right here, just trying to bring you this good scenery and people enjoying. Of course, you understand what COVID-19 has been all of Kenya, and more so to the tourism industry, which has been largely hit, of course, owing to this pandemic. But again, I think we are gradually and slowly coming back to some sense of normalcy, because again, you can see people are getting really to enjoy their time around the beaches, and of course, the visitors and the tourists who are around here. But briefly, maybe if I should just go straight to this forum and what it really portends for us as a people, continent of Africa, Miriam. At the onset, let me begin by saying, really, I feel elated, Miriam, to be part of and indeed a contributor of this great summit today. Africa has so far demonstrated immense resilience during the coronavirus pandemic, since, of course, it struck early last year, and to be specific, in March, of course, 2020. And from then, of course, Africa has indeed faced a severe test of its strength and agility, rather, because of this pandemic. But the good news remains, Miriam, that this continent going into this crisis reasonably a good shape following decades of progress in the health sector, education, and economic outcomes that we have been seeing over time. Because again, what we need to stress here is how Africa has come out as a resilient continent, even at a time when most developed countries or developed nations did not hope for the best in as far as this COVID-19 is concerned. Of course, this pandemic, maybe there was a lot of anticipation, but maybe Africa as a continent was going to be overburdened, that they may not come out as was anticipated. But again, they have stood out as strong and, of course, very resilient. Despite their best efforts, Miriam, many countries in the continent today still struggle with the fragile health systems, high debt levels, weak external balances, as well as high rates of poverty and unemployment. And I think this is the greatest challenge that continues to face or bedevil the continent of Africa, Miriam. And so even with the coming in of the corona pandemic, of course, we've seen the numerous challenges that this continent has continued to face, even amidst those other underlying challenges that it has always bedeviled this continent. But again, we continually try to struggle and see how best we can get out of it. But to counter the fallout of the corona pandemic, Miriam, Africa needs a robust policy response from every country on the continent, paired with strong support from Africa development partners in specific. In the short term, African countries should prioritize health health spending for the provision of essential personal protective equipment, that is PPE, and of course the materials, accelerations of local productions of medical supplies, including of course what I've mentioned there, and vaccine and drug discovery, because Africa now relies more heavily, of course, on the other developed worlds. For example, India, China, Russia, we've seen, of course, with the production of the coronavirus vaccine. I think something that South Africa now needs really to put so much resources in terms of doing research to ensure that as we move forward, we are not going to be over-reliance on the outside world, that is the developed world, for us to be able to get this pandemic, because to get the vaccine, I beg your pardon, because as it is now, we actually remain at the mercy of the developed world, Miriam.
Right.
But again, equally more, money should be earmarked for scientific, economic, and social research. Countries should pursue global and continental partnerships to prepare the same for any eventualities. Because again, like the pandemic really struck the continent of Africa and the entire world, it has not been so easy. It came like we are not prepared as a continent, and it itself has made it very difficult for us to be able to battle this particular problem, Miriam. Let me now talk briefly on the point of what the development partners can do in as far as helping Africa, of course, alleviate the situation, alleviate themselves from the situation that we find ourselves currently, Miriam. And I think at the onset, I must say that the coronavirus pandemic needs a multinational kind of approach in terms of partnership from all the development partners in the world. Talk of the Africa Development Bank, talk of the International Monetary Fund, talk of the UN, and talk of the World Health Organizations, and so many of those, of course, development partners, to see into it how we can together, of course, have a well-concerted effort in fighting this pandemic, Miriam.
All right, Tawish, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me, Tawish?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, talking about effects, we know that tourism industry is one of the industries that were really affected by the COVID-19. From your assessment, just walking around the hotel, I can hear you a bit of wind here and there, but I don't know if you can hear me. Tawish, can you hear me? Yes. All right. So I just want to know, from your assessment, they are walking around and seeing Kenyans and just around the hotel and around the coastal city. I'm sure you've taken a few walks around. We know tourism industry is one of the industries that were advanced
not only in Kenya, but across the globe, taking different plunging. And so many people actually put in a situation where there is no job, there was a shortage in basic commodities, and the market basically collapsed. But with time, as my fellow panelists said, we learned to live with the pandemic. And even as the CEO said that there is nothing like life after COVID, but rather we found ways of adapting to the situation as it is. And therefore, that has seen so many people coming out with innovation. We saw even people now trying to come up with ways of working without necessarily going to work, just working remotely through Zoom and other
And that is a good thing for the policies of President Uhuru Kenyatta. But he needs help from international businesses, local businesses, to pump into the sectors that produce oxygen. Uganda has no oxygen cylinders. Uganda is looking for oxygen after 59 years. People only build good houses. We have a problem with us Africans that whenever we go to Europe, the first thing you do is to build a very big house at home. 119 has taught us a lesson that house you might not sleep in it. You know, if you build a smaller house and put oxygen manufacturing equipment, I don't know what the professor will say about this, but that's the truth. If you build a house and spare some money in Africa and put oxygen manufacturing equipment, you never know, something else will come which will need something bigger than oxygen. But there is no disease that has ever needed oxygen, honestly speaking, than this one. People with houses, people are looking for oxygen cylinders. Honestly, they are. But the people invested in big mansions. Someone has built a house on 10 miles, like Cecil Rhodes. He wants to ride on a horse for 5 days to tell the people that this is my place. But inside, not a single machine that produces something very important to the world. I bet. Do you know what, Prof? On a second flip and others listening to me, I'm thinking about this thing very seriously. That, look, next time in my house in Africa, you know the first thing I will put in is a machine that, honestly speaking, is a machine that manufactures oxygen. And I want to tell Africans now, to begin now, because this thing is not going to go away. You might not need cylinders again. You need a simple machine of 200,000, which is $2,000. But the first thing we in the diaspora we go in the diaspora. The first thing and the first money we send home is to buy a house. But in the house, there is no cylinder for oxygen. Have you seen now? I am now going to stimulate the discussion. Have you seen that? There's no cylinder for thinking, for oxygen, little oxygen that you want. Let that oxygen in the body go away for just 1 minute. It can't take you 5 minutes. 5 minutes without oxygen, you are done. You are gone. Ladies and gentlemen, viewers, listeners, those watching us and those watching us from the vacuum point of view, wherever you are across the world, let's learn new things. Let's learn to build houses, but in those houses, learn to put up a small machine for oxygen. Because you never know, this COVID-19 could become endemic. It is a pandemic now, but it could become endemic. It is better to have your oxygen manufacturing smaller equipment for long life, which you switch on with your generator, and then you will save your family. That's why we brought this conference here, to tell people, to ask people that think about what is going to happen here. Why can't African governments now begin to tell people about alternative means of a cylinder. Have you seen that? It's the audience and the people. Are you not seeing what I'm seeing? How can a country with 59 years of independence depend on Uganda oxygen plant? And there where oxygen cylinders are manufactured somewhere else. Why can't you bring the technology to manufacture a non-cylinder oxygen maker which could sell 5 to 10 liters of oxygen? Once you switch on, you resuscitate a patient before he reaches hospital. Believe me or not, I can see one person wants to speak. Brother Chindera, you are now free to speak to us now, Mr. Kindera. You have been given a chance. Your hand has been up. Can you prepare to speak now? It's your chance. You have 2 minutes. Chindera, you raised the hand and disappeared. Douglas, you said Chindera. Douglas Budi, come in, please. He's changed to Chindera.
Thank you, Dr. David Matsanga, for convening this great conference about how we can become resilient in terms of businesses in Africa, and also how we can be able to build great businesses and save millions of jobs across Africa. Because Dr. David Matsanga, the proper cautioning of African businesses has not been done, either from the private sector, from big corporations, and even government, except a few governments that have tried to inject a lot of money in terms of cautioning big corporations and small-scale businesses at large. And when these businesses cross down, when they lose their revenue, when they lose their profits, Dr. David Matsanga, we are going to lose a lot of business in terms of our contribution to the well-being of the African continent. I remember a recent research, Dr. Matsanga, has shown that a bigger percentage of women are more likely to lose their jobs permanently or an income permanently due to COVID-19. And under the threat of COVID-19, businesses are going to continue crossing down and others performing badly, and thus denying the bigger percentage of African population a livelihood, and also denying government taxes that are paid by these private corporations and bigger businesses, especially those businesses that are steered by government across Africa. Dr. Matsanga, remember, African governments are the biggest income generators for even small-scale traders. Governments in Africa fuel these businesses when they can affect the taxes of government, and thus even service delivery itself, Dr. David Matsanga, is affected. So I think from my perspective as a small business owner and also as a student of African businesses and the models that are exercised across Africa, we can be able to become resilient as African businesses when we reimagine our businesses and also our enterprises. Remember, so many companies like General Motors turned into production of ventilators, and other companies that were doing other businesses like cosmetics turned into hand sanitizers manufacturers. So when businesses reimagine their structures and also reimagine their mode of doing businesses, they are going to become resilient, and they are going to come back when this pandemic is over, and they don't need to necessarily close down. Dr. David Matsanga, they can diversify their products and services. For example, if a company has been offering physical products only, they can diversify and offer trainings and offer other things that can be done online. They can go digital. David Matsanga products, they can go there. If they are physical shops, they can shop and also set up their own shops online and make sure that their customers have a new experience that can be able to help them venture into the online market, which is largely filled by so many people in the age of a social distance, where people would not want to have physical contact with the shop attendants and all that. We can have these companies and these businesses go digital. When they go digital, for example, the Kenyan government has gone digital on most of its services. I was glad when I was registering another business last month. It took me 1 day to register a limited business after the proper documentation was verified, Dr. Matsanga. If we can be able to go digital, like the Kenyan government has done to some of its services, we can be able to offer more services, reach out to more clientele, save more jobs, and become resilient in the face of COVID-19. In the middle of COVID-19 and even post-COVID, we can be able to become more resilient in terms of when we have got digital, and also diversification of our product, and also reimagining our models. Most of these businesses target their customers so that they can make a profit. It is said the basic definition of a business is an entity that makes profit. If a business is no longer making profit, Dr. Matsanga, that is a charity organization. I believe most of these businesses that have employed millions of Africans are not charity organizations. So I believe if we become more resourceful in terms of diversification of our products and services, going digital, and also making sure that we not only invest in services that we can offer physically, we can be able to offer our services online. Dr. Matsanga, I believe jobs can be able to be saved, businesses can be saved, and income generating for income generation for these companies will continue, and also for government, they will keep their revenues across Africa. Thank you, Dr. Matsanga, and that is my submission.
Thank you very much. Douglas, Kirimi, can you show us your location on the coast? Just to show us your location, where you are. Are you heading towards Mogadishu? Douglas, can you show us your location? You might be heading towards Mogadishu.
Just a moment, Dr. Matsanga, I'm in the coastal.
Yeah, where?
In Nairobi. I'm not in Mogadishu.
No, you might be heading towards Mogadishu. Please don't take any ship across there. Thank you.
Just a moment.
Thank you. As we wait for Douglas to show us where he is, we now call upon Javan Karanja. Javan Karanja is one of my students of mass communication and the media and the politics. So I'm mentoring Javan Karanja. I want to see how he can see the effects of COVID-19. He's a member of the legacy team of the legacy trend that supports His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya. And we are here to assess the impact of tourism, businesses, infrastructure, and what can be done. You see how the protocols in the coast have been followed. If you go to the dining without a mask, nobody will serve you food. And that is what we want. Several people today have been stopped from those who come from Nairobi, come with no mask. They want to rush to the dining, to the queue. They have been told to go back. I'm sorry, but this happens. I am very observant. They say, well, you see, when they tell you to go back, it's very funny. But it's very good to teach you that you must have that mask. In the coast, anywhere in Mombasa, in a hotel, they are very strict on that. So Karanja, come and we see you have only, paraphrase your paper, you have only 4 minutes. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. David Matsanga, and the rest of the contributors, Professor PLO Lumumba, and Edward, and the rest of the team, and for the other participants. Thanks for this conference, Dr. David Matsanga. It's a timely conference because we are discussing something that is a reality with us. You know, COVID-19 is something that we are dealing with, and it's a reality, and we must come up with ways because in our culture as Africans, when you're faced with a calamity, you must come up with ways to ensure that you salvage yourself, you come out of that situation alive or you've come. Therefore, on this conference, we are here to give ways and to point out some of the effects of COVID-19 in our economy, in our social life, also how COVID-19 has disorganized even the political arena, because we understand as we speak, there's ban of political gatherings and so on. Therefore, there is a lot that is happening. And I'll start by saying effect of COVID-19 in African economy. It has majorly affected the tourism sector because we know airplane travels have been banned. Therefore, as a country, especially Kenya, where we depend on almost above that 5% of our economy, especially here in coast where we are, we depend on tourism, both for wildlife and other sanctuaries where tourists come and enjoy seeing these beautiful places. Also, it has affected domestic tourism because as the beginning of this COVID-19, we had cessation of movement where people could not move from one county to another. Therefore, this affected in a very big way the tourism sector. And we know even to some extent the hospitality sector at large. Members, the workers were laid off, maybe prematurely, and others were laid off without their payments. Therefore, it has caused a lot of distress in that area. Also, when you come to the oil-producing countries, like when you look at the countries like Angola, Nigeria, you'll see that they have suffered badly because they could not export their oil, the crude oil, for fine processing to the destination, like the Arab countries. Therefore, this have affected their economy. Also, it has also affected a lot when it comes to the growth of our economy, because when you look at some statistic, you'll see that the continent of Africa was estimated to grow with a rate of 3.9%. But due to COVID-19, this has caused a very big setback, where now the economy is growing at an average rate of 0.5%. Therefore, when you look at that, this shows that a number of people have really lost their jobs. And a lot of companies have shut down, and this has caused a lot of this. And when you also look at the effects of COVID-19, you cannot go without the mentioning of the issue of our health. It has really strained our health sector, where workers and the health practitioners have been forced to work for more hours than what they used to do when we didn't have this COVID-19. Also, we have other people who have been suffering the disease, who have contacted the disease. And this has left the people and their families with a lot of emotional and physical distress. Therefore, when you look at that aspect, you'll see that there are people who are suffering due to COVID-19 emotionally, because maybe they have lost their loved one. A member of family have infected the disease, and they have incurred a lot of losses in terms of seeking treatment. Therefore, at that point, you see the emotional distress. And to some extent, we cannot be able to estimate how large this suffering can be. Therefore, these are some of things, and it will remain in hearts of many Kenyans. When the word COVID-19 will be mentioned, they will remember how their loved one, how they lost their loved one. Someone will remember how they contracted the diseases and the kind of struggles they went through. As a country, the same scenario when we remember the 2007, 2008 post-election violence. There are still people, when you mention about the 2007, 2008 post-election violence, they have that pain because they have not healed. Therefore, there is the issue of emotional suffering and distress that have been caused by COVID-19. And also there are a lot of social interaction, like the weddings, the church, and the burials have been disorganized. Therefore, we have been forced with a new reality, because now when you go to churches, you must follow a certain order, and you find that some churches have closed down, when you go to our barrios now, we don't do it the way we used to do before COVID-19. Therefore, it has posted a new normal to us. Therefore, those are some of things that I'm just trying to outline the effects of COVID-19. Also, when you look at the issue of immigrants, as a country, Kenya, we have the biggest camp of immigrants in the country. And these guys have been suffering because when their loved ones have contracted the diseases and due to the cessation of movement and the disorganization of the economy, you'll see that the remittance that they used to get from their loved one, the small income, the small salaries, the small money they used to receive from their loved one, they are not getting it as they used to do. Therefore, this has caused them to suffer a lot when they're in these camps, the refugee camps and so on. And also the issue of going to schools. Even our calendar as we speak, we are trying to see how we can tighten up things to ensure that we recover the time that was lost when our students were at home. Therefore, there's a lot of things, a lot of challenges, and all of us are a witness that COVID-19 have touched us in one way or the other, because when you look at our courts these days, they used even to do the digital and virtual hearing of these cases, and to some extent it was not effective to Kenyans who are not familiar with the technology and where the internet is low. Therefore, these are some of the challenges. And the solution that have been, the best thing with COVID-19, it has caused, and I think is a point, I've majorly mentioned on the negative aspect. But still, when you look at the issue of COVID-19, you cannot go without mentioning the positive side of the story, because we have seen a lot of digital revolution courtesy of this COVID-19. These days, when you go to our churches, you'll find even the local churches, like where I come from, even in our home church, now they have come up with a digital way to ensure that they reach their congregation when they're at home. Therefore, that is a positive thing. People have embraced technology. They have embraced the power of social media. Now we can work from the comfort of our homes. Therefore, we have embraced the use of technology, the laptops, and so on. Therefore, this is a positive thing, and this is something that we live with. And it has also caused the issue of we can now have a new perspective or a mindset where we can see our homes as an office where we can still earn an income from home. And that is how we have the Zoom meetings and so on. Therefore, when you look at the issue of COVID-19, effects are both positive and negative. There is a positive side for me, and that is the revolution of the technology and so on. And some of the solutions and some of the mitigation measures that has been put by governments across Africa, as I make my point as I finalize on this, is the issue of tax relief. Even in our country, we have given a tax relief, and the VAT was reduced to about 12% there. And you see other tax reliefs to ensure that people are able to sustain themselves as they go through this pandemic. Also, in other countries, you find also here in Kenya, they were offering an emergency food grants, incomes to those people who have been laid off their jobs. And there was a weekly donation to their funds that was being done via M-Pesa. Therefore, when you look at this issue, the governments across our African continent have come up with the ways to ensure that they curb the spread of COVID-19, and also they ensure that their people are safe. And finally, the governments and those who function, the governments, especially in our country, ensured that those guys who function and who work in essential services, the essential service providers in the country, like doctors, teachers, and the media personalities, they were not laid off. Therefore, this ensured that there was a continuous growth of the economy, although it was in a small way. Therefore, that was a very a good way of ensuring that we grow our economy, because the essential service providers are working, and that was a very good thing. Also, there was the issue of thank you. And you see, after the COVID-19, a lot of markets were shut down, but the government ensured that the farmers the government ensured that farmers and other essential service providers would continue doing their job. Therefore, this ensured that we are food sustainable, and we had the food. We had the food to ensure that we keep going as a country. Therefore, that was a very good thing. Therefore, at the end of it all, COVID-19 is still here with us. It's a reality that we are dealing with, and I will urge the viewers and the participants here and others and the people in the room that we continue ensuring that we wear our mask, we sanitize, we wash our hands, we avoid places that are overcrowded so that we can win this war as a team. Because as our CS, Mutahi Kagwe, keeps telling us that in order to win this war on COVID-19, it will take personal responsibility. You protect me, I protect you. When you find me in a manner that suggests I can spread COVID-19 or I'm not behaving the way it's supposed to be, please advise me accordingly so that I protect myself and I will also protect I will not put my family or those guys I interact with regularly at risk. Therefore, that is my contribution. And what I know, we had other pandemics before. We had the Ebola, we had the Spanish flu, and we won successfully. And in those years, some of the disease, like measles, were chronic and they were quite dangerous, and they claimed numbers of lives. But today, we have been able to eradicate them completely. Therefore, one day, COVID-19 will be defeated, and will be able to walk out of the wood successful, and we'll go back to the normal we used to know. And the positive side of embracing the technology, I think that is something that from COVID-19 is something that will remain with us. Therefore, on that point, Dr. David Matsanga, thank you for the conference. And I beg to pass my contributions, and I submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is a student. Karanja is one of my people who has followed, one of the few students, professor. I'm trying to mentor in political science and mass communication. He's a journalist by background. He does very good research for the legacy trend, and he's well versed. He stays in Nanyuki. Keep it up. Don't get dry when you come on the microphone.
Yes.
It is very difficult to address. The world is watching you.
Yeah.
But you've done a great job today as a mentor and a teacher. I'm happy. Thank you very much. Now,
Asante.
Asante sana. Next is, who is left? Huh? Yes. Oh, we have Mr. Pambe only. And then the professor wants to give us closing remarks. And we do the necessary. We move to another chapter. We can see Douglas Krim seem to be on the boat going away to, to Somalia. I wish you good luck, but make sure that they don't catch you on the boat. He seems to be going somewhere on the boat. So thank you very much. I call upon Pambe. Pambe is also a very good person. Mute yours. Mute your thing. Douglas. Yes, thank you. Pambe is the head of radio in our department of Punchlin Africa TV. Is for Radio Africa, Radio Punchlin Africa. Is one of the radio stations I created online together with this television, but he is very vast on Kiswahili. So he's going to speak mostly Kiswahili to Kenyans at the coast first. Greet them, waambie mambo Tanzania, what is happening in Dar es Salaam, how the COVID has affected East Africa briefly. Then you can make your few points and give way to our greatest leader, who is here today, our chief guest.
Hamjambo wa Kenya wenzangu. Popote pale ulipo pia hamjambo wa Afrika, kona zote, enzi zote, kwa wale ambao wanazungumza Kiswahili. Hususan kwa vile tuko hapa katika kaunti ya Mombasa. Bila shaka ni siku njema tu ya kuweza kuangazia masuala haya. Jina langu ni Mpambe Mkanga, almaarufu Patrick Mkanga, na ningependa sana kuweza kugusia kuongea kuhusiana na masuala ya biashara, namna ambavyo virusi vya corona ama tandavu ya corona ilivyozuia kuendelea ama maendeleo ya biashara, na mambo mingi tu kuhusiana na uchumi. Na bila shaka kama tujuavyo, ni mengi ambayo yameweza kusemwa hapa kuhusiana na athari ama the effects of COVID-19 pandemic, lakini mimi ningependa kutoa suluhisho ama kupendekeza baadhi ya suluhu ambazo zinaweza kutumika katika hali moja ama ile nyingine kuweza kufufua uchumi ambao umeathirika barani Afrika. Na katika hali hiyo basi, ninaanza tu na kuangazia kwa wale ambao wangependa kufanya biashara katika wakati huu ambapo tunazungumzia athari za COVID-19. Je, wanaweza kufanya nini ili waweze kufaulu katika biashara zao? Jambo la kwanza, ni muhimu sana kuweza kujua ni biashara gani unataka kufanya. Je, ni soko gani la hivi bidhaa ambavyo unataka kuuza? Lazima ujue ni watu gani ambao unataka kuwauzia hivi bidhaa. Usije ukauza bidhaa ambazo huenda wakati huu ukija vitakuja labda kukaa tu pale, vitakuja kurundikana pale kwenye gala ama kwenye store. Kwa hivyo katika Kiingereza utasema to identify long term market. Alafu katika swala lingine la pili katika suluhisho ya biashara, to determine whether innovation is you're addressing is long term. Je, hivi bidhaa ambavyo unataka kuuza ama hii biashara ambayo unataka kuifanya, biashara ambayo itafika kesho iishe, ni biashara ambayo itafika labda juma lijalo ikamilike? Hilo jambo muhimu sana kuweza kufahamu wakati unapofanya biashara, ili iweze kukaa kwa muda mrefu, iweze kukusaidia labda kuleta zile fedha ambazo ungependa. Ni muhimu sana kuweza kujua vitu ambavyo unataka kuuza vinachukua muda gani, vinataka utasaidia watu kwa njia gani. Another point, map your business model. Ni muhimu sana kuweza kufahamu kwamba ni mfumo gani utakuwa unaweza kuuza ama kuendeleza biashara hii. Je, kama ni labda vile bidhaa ambavyo utakuwa unatoa kutoka kule ng'ambo unataka kusambaza katika mataifa mengine, ni muhimu sana kuweza kufahamu, je, vitachukua labda muda gani katika yale maeneo ambayo utakuwa unavitoa kufika pale. Je, ni bidhaa ambavyo labda vinaharibika haraka ama ni bidhaa aushi? Kama tunavyosema, ni bidhaa ambavyo vinakaa ama bidhaa ambazo zinakaa kwa muda wakati ambapo utakuwa unafanya ile biashara. Alafu ya 4, kabla sijakamilisha, consider your customers' perspective when interacting with them. Wakati ambapo unafanya hii biashara, ni muhimu sana kuweza kusikiliza pia nini ambacho hawa customers ama wale wateja wako wanahitaji, na utatumia mbinu gani. Tumia mitandao. Sasa hivi iko mitandao, Facebook, fuatilia, weka pale bidhaa zako, weza kufuatilia uweze kuona, je, hawa wananiambia nini. Utakuja kusoma mambo mengine mageni, mambo mapya kutoka kwa wao. Kama ni kitu kibaya watakueleza, kama ni kitu fulani wanataka uongezee hapo watakueleza yote, ili uweze kufanya ziwe bidhaa zenye manufaa kwa wakati ambapo utawauzia. Alafu mwisho, you brush up on your virtual selling skills. Ni muhimu sana kama wakati huu sasa tunavyozungumza hivi, mambo mengi yameenda virtual. ninavyoweza kusema katika kunukuu, mambo mengi sasa hivi yanafanyika kimtandao. Watu hawakutani ovyo ovyo, maana kuna zile sheria za ama masharti ya kuzuia virusi vya corona. Ni muhimu sana hii biashara yako wakati unaendeleza, ni muhimu uweze kufahamu njia za kuweza kuwafikia wale wateja wako ambao unawakusudia kabla ya kuwauzia kila ambacho unawauzia. Tumia mtandao ya kijamii kama vile Facebook. Utatumia labda Zoom, wakati mwingine unaandaa Zoom meeting labda na wale ambao unawakusudia kuwafikia kununua hizi bidhaa zako. Tumia mtandao kama vile Instagram. Ni mitandao ambayo ipo sasa hivi na inatumika wazi kabisa. Na mwisho kabisa, ningependa kuwashukuru na vile vile kueleza kwamba hakika COVID-19 imetufundisha mambo mengi. Yale ambayo yamesemwa hapa, tutaweza kubadilisha mbinu ya kufanya biashara, tutabadilisha mbinu ya kushughulikia masuala mengi katika maisha yetu. Na tukiangazia kwa mfano kama ukanda wa Afrika Mashariki, tunazingatia kwamba biashara katika ukanda wa Afrika Mashariki zimeweza kuathirika. Lakini hata hivyo, kulingana na vile tunavyoshuhudia, ni kwamba viongozi wa mataifa haya wanajaribu kuweza kufufua uchumi huu. Kama alivyosema mwenzangu pale, aliyezungumza kabla yangu pale, bwana Javan pale Karanja, amesema kwamba kwa mfano Rais Uhuru Kenyatta wa taifa hili amejaribu kujitolea pakubwa sana katika kufufua uchumi katika mbinu tofauti tofauti, hata wakati huu wa janga la corona. Bajeti ambayo ilisomwa hivi majuzi na waziri wa fedha bwana Ukur Yatani, bila shaka iliangazia njia ya kuweza kufufua uchumi. Wanaita zile COVID-19 recovery, perhaps business recovery ama economic recovery. Inakuwa ni njia muhimu sana wakati ambapo itafaulu mbinu hii ambao wameitumia, ama zile fedha ambazo walitenga kuweza kusaidia katika hali hiyo, zikitumikia vyema, basi bila shaka Wakenya watafurahia. Ningependa basi kuachia mahali hapo na kushukuru kila mmoja hapa. Namuona pale Profesa Pierre Lumumba. Ningependa kumshukuru Daktari David Matsanga pale na wengine wote ambao wamechangia katika hatua hii kuweza kufaulu leo hii. Bila shaka yote umekuwa walezi wangu, na ningependa tuendelee katika hali hiyo kuweza kufufua uchumi wa Afrika kwa ujumla. Ni hayo tu kwa sasa.
Asante sana ndugu mpenzi. Kiswahili yangu ilipotea makati nilitoka Tanzania makati ya 78, lakini utanisaidia, utakwambia tafadhali. Ndugu mpenzi, asante sana kujua ambao najua maneno hii ya kuendesha Kiswahili kwa radio Punchlin Africa. Hiyo ndio radio moja kwa online na muziki kutoka rumba. I'm a very good rumba dancer. Only that the energy is going away slowly. Asante sana, na shukuru sana. Endelea namna hivyo, Mungu akubariki. Yes. Have I done it? Yeah, yes. Yeah. So finally, we want to come to summary. I don't think there's anybody else waiting. I don't know whether Dr. Edward has come back. If you have not come back, thank you.
Dr. Matsanga.
Yes.
Yes, I'm here.
You have come back, but our time is over. And the guests down here would like to move away and go to another session. So therefore, I want to thank you very much and thank others. You had finished. You anyway. Mr. Do you want to speak, Mr. Ogobera? Mr. Ogobera, do you want to speak? Odo, what? I don't know. Mr. Obona, do you want to speak? Oh, everybody fears and runs away. So thank you very much, Prof. This is the moment for closing remarks. And then we move on to another agenda. I want to thank everybody worldwide, those who have listened. I'll do that later on. But I want to thank my co-host, Miriam, for having been there and stood on this session. And we want to thank all the millions who have watched, and I'm sure they are multiplying this video from morning. I want also to thank the brother of Nnamdi Kanu for coming out to exonerate our television completely under my name out of the mess that has taken Africa by difficulties and which we don't know how it came about. Chindera, do you want to speak?
Yes, sir. If Dr. Lumumba is still here with us, I would like to ask him a question.
Okay, Dr. Lumumba is listening. Go ahead. But let's see, can we see your face a bit?
Thank you very much. My question will be very brief. Dr. Lumumba, I greet you from here. Thank you very much, sir. Is your brother Chidera. I just want to ask you a question because Dr. Lumumba is one of the men who respected so much in Africa. And I have followed him and he preached Africa unity. Now, Dr. Lumumba, you preach an Africa unity, and a dedicated man like you, when Donald J. Trump labeled Africa as a shithood, all of you professors and the educated one came up and said, no, Africa is not a shithood. Now, our leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, traveled all over the world. He have never been arrested. He have never been in anywhere near anybody harassing him in the airport. First time he traveled to the same whole Africa, is now been arrested. That's number one question. Number two, what are you going to say about that? Because most of you educated ones are the ones making this argument, telling us how Africa is very beautiful, how Africa is going to be united, how Africa is going to have resources. We all scattered here in Africa. As I can tell you, most of millions of Africa, immigration can't even document us. They can't even guarantee you stay even in Africa country. But now they cannot travel all over. And the same Africa, and they not arresting him, handing him over to Nigeria government, which we yourself well known. Now, secondly, if Africa is united today and to become one nation, which since over 60 years now, no single peak can Nigeria produce, will you, Dr. Lumumba, advocate for Nigeria to be president of Africa? With going on, with knowing for how many years now, Nigeria have not been anything, and they over 200 million. They covered most of the Eastern Africa. If they say vote, Nigeria will clearly win the election because they are more in population. Will you advocate for a Nigerian president to Africa? See who they are now. God bless you, sir.
Professor Lumumba will answer. Professor Lumumba will answer you. And I think before he comes, he has made his stand very clear. Come, Professor. He has made his stand very clear that for Africa, the bad example of Africa is Nigeria. I think on several occasions he has said so. The disintegration of Africa starts with Nigeria. Until we rearrange Nigeria, until most of the countries rearrange themselves and stop the stupidity of cross-border. They promised us set passports, African passports. They are not there. They have eaten the money. They promised us everything. We all took photographs and sent it to African Union. PLO, these passports got lost. Someone ate the money and we don't see the passport again. What the hell is this Africa? I at times let it be rearranged. Tigray, they have rearranged themselves. Have you seen the Tigrayan people? They have rearranged themselves. There's no more Ethiopia anymore called Ethiopia. It is going to rearrange itself that way. We as much as we want a united Africa, give the Biafrans the right to decide where they want to belong. You cannot kill them, then tell them to belong to the same shoes that kill them every night. No. Professor, it is your turn.
Thank you very much. It is very easy to respond to your question in a simplistic manner. I will not be simplistic. Africa is a complex continent, and whenever we talk about unity, we are not naive. We do not believe, at least I do not believe, that one day something will happen suddenly and we break the existing sovereign states. It is going to be slow and gradual. And I want you to read the instruments of the OAU in 1963, read the instruments of the African Union, read the instrument creating the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, read the instruments of SADC, the instruments of East African Community, the instruments of ECOWAS, and you will get to know that even as we talk about unity, it is not going to be easy. You will appreciate that many countries in Africa are now laboring under rebellion. I remember as a young person working as an intern in the office of John Garang de Mabior before the country now known as South Sudan was created. Dr. John said in Khartoum, we are not people who want to break up Sudan, but let the Khartoum government make unity attractive. I've said it in no lesser place than in Lagos and in Abuja, that Nigeria stands at a very critical position in the life of Africa. 1 in every 5 Africans is Nigerian. And the history of the disunity of Nigeria is not new. You will remember, courtesy of history, what happened that I talked about a little before the Civil War, the meeting in Aburi in Ghana, the Justs featuring Chukwuemeka Odumegwuojukwu and Yakubu Gowon. It is not easy. And much more recently, we have seen the activities of the central government in Nigeria and the activities of Boko Haram and the agitation in Biafra and in Oduduwa. It is not easy. It is important that the central government listens, and I've heard Nnamdi Kanu speak and say that what they want is a referendum to determine whether the people of Biafra should continue in the Union or the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I'll use this occasion to draw your attention to other activities in the continent of Africa. The people of Amazonia in Cameroon are saying the same thing. The people of RBA in Sudan are saying the same thing. The people of Eritrea said the same thing before Eritrea regained their independence. The people of Nuba Mountains and Blue Nile and Darfur are saying the same thing. The people of Casamance are saying the same thing in Senegal. So that there is an issue here that Africa must examine our systems of governance if the continent is to know genuine and sustainable unity. Let us not be under any illusion that it is going to be easy. It is going to be difficult. It is going to take time. It may not happen in your lifetime, but history has demonstrated consistently that an idea that is genuine and legitimate, once planted in the hearts and minds of men, never dies. What one would urge, which is not happening, is under the aegis of the African Union or under the aegis of the regional bodies, that these conflicts should be confronted and resolved. Recently, you saw the conflicts that were taking place in Chad, in Mali, in Mauritania, and I was one of the very few I know who came out and urged the ECOWAS group of countries to confront those issues. My answer to you, let us not think that it's going to be easy. Lives will be lost. People will be maimed. Property will be destroyed. It is not going to be for the faint-hearted. It is not going to happen on Zoom or Twitter. It is going to happen on the ground. And my counsel to all of us is that we each play our part in order to ensure that people's legitimate right to self-determination is given its pride of place. We hear you. I have had the privilege and honor of addressing the Senate in Nigeria, of addressing the House of Representatives in Nigeria, and I've spoken boldly and firmly about what I think should happen in Nigeria, and will continue to do so. You who are on ground zero, you have a duty that is heavier than ours. Ours is to support all legitimate circumstances. I've myself been declared persona non grata in Zambia and turned away at the airport, notwithstanding that I'm an African. So that when I speak about these things, it is out of personal experience. I've had to stop visiting some countries because there were legitimate threats against me. So this is not for the faint-hearted. And when we choose to come out, we know that there could be consequences about them. And that is what we urge all of us to remember at all times when we come out and expose ourselves by word and deed to those whose lives and livelihoods we threaten by speaking the truth. And that is all I wish to say, because it is also a bad war general who makes public what he wants to do and how he intends to prosecute his or her agenda. So wisdom also demands, among other things, that those who are confronted with enemies must know what to say and when to say them, because it is very important that some information is only shared on a need-to-know basis. Let me also use this opportunity, therefore, to speak my final words, to say that a conversation such as this is very relevant. And I must thank the Pan-African Forum Limited for bringing people with diverse views. One of the things that would have worried me if I came to this meeting and we all agreed and we all had different perspectives, there is only unanimity in a cemetery. When you have the land of the living, people will always have ideas and even have different perspectives. Let this not be a one-off engagement. Let us pick out the ideas that are relevant. Let us engage outside of this forum in the knowledge that our duty is only to play our part. This morning and this afternoon, we have focused on the impact of COVID-19. And COVID-19 has had both economic, social, and political implications. There are governments that are now using COVID to visit pain and terror against their populations. There are people who are using COVID-19 to rip and rape their nations. All these are issues that deserve our attention, and I hope, Dr. Matsanga, that we will have these occasions, and when time permits, we will be able to engage a lot more elaborately and a lot more robustly in physical meetings where we are able to meet our good friends from Biafra, from Ambazonia, from Darfur, from the Blue Nile. And I do hope that our good friends across the continent who are victims of oppression by regimes which are in denial are also in the business of coordinating their affairs. I would want to hear that they coordinate their affairs. That is how it was during the struggle to liberate Zimbabwe, to liberate Namibia, to liberate Nyasaland, and that is Malawi, and Zambia, to liberate South Africa. I also do hope that conversations are taking place within Nigeria specifically. Those who are oppressed must come together as a condition precedent to their realizing their ambitions for the sake of the unity of Africa. And let me finally say, the struggle for self-determination and the struggle for unity are not mutually exclusive. In fact, I hold the view that it is only when I determine that they become greater votaries and protagonists of unity. If you deny people the right to realize and to enjoy their dignity, then you may talk of unity, but that unity is not unity, it is something else. And that is what African leaders must be told. We must not, in the name of unity, be hard to say that the people must go through pain of dehumanization and humiliation. Thank you very much, and I wish you the very best as we go forward. God bless you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. As we go to the final leg, I used to play football, and my number was number 11. And all the time, it ends up, sorry, it's, get me another mask. Another mask in there. My number was number 11, and all the time, Professor PLO and others, the ball could be sent to number 11. And number 11, the mask. The ball could be sent to number 11, and the professor number 11 had to come, and finally, as you want to score, the whistle goes, and we lose the time and end the football match. I am a supporter of Liverpool Football Club for 45 years now. And those who are in different clubs, I don't care now. And some of your clubs hit us so badly this year. We are waiting again to hit you next year when the time comes. So I wish all of you good luck in your football clubs. And above all, I want to say before I finish, one of the guests says he wants to thank Professor PLO. He has never been he has been waiting for a long time to speak on the same platform with you. And that is our guest from, one of the guests from our Biafra, called, my friend called Simon Ekipa. A what? Simon, Miriam is my interpreter on this one. Akipa.
Simon Epa.
Yes, Simon Epa. Epa. Yes, Epa. You killed the K. Yes, I can. Yes. It's like a Matsanga. You killed T. Thank you. Ekipa. Thank you. Simon, I give you a few minutes to say bye-bye to our friends, to convey me greetings if there are any. I understand the lawyer of Nnamdi Kanu has just been allowed to see Nnamdi Kanu. I have seen it on the news in Nigeria. I don't know whether that is true. And I think the truth is coming out now. Once he sees him, let him confirm to us these rumors that are flying around about the truth. I don't know whether you have also seen something like that, but there you are, you give us, put us in one position as we send ourselves and wish the rest of the world. The key points that have been raised here, all of you who attended will receive our report. And those who are here, it will come in a booklet, which will form a basis of further discussions on Africa. Thank you very much, Simon. Take it away, please, for a few minutes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Matsanga, for this opportunity given to us and given to me to be on this platform today with a respected, well-respected it is good that I believe from this day we will begin to see the change that we have all yearned for in Africa. Having listened to Professor line of speech in this year's closing remark, I would say that I am now one of the happiest person that will begin to talk and speak the way it is. Professor, in his closing remark, he mentioned that we can't allow the issue of unity and kill ourselves. In a just brief, we cannot continue to preach unity and at the same time endanger our lives that will expose our people to the kind of killings you see in Nigeria today. The truth is that every reasonable person will understand that Africa has come a very long way. Africa has come a very long way. And it is time we, Africa people, Pan-Africanists, those who believe that Africa will be a great continent in the nearest future, it is time we begin to speak to the authorities and advise them the way forward. We know that a lot of leaders in Africa do not want Africa to progress for their own selfish and ulterior motives. They believe that Africa must embrace a certain religion, the Islamic religion, before they will begin to preach or agitate for a better Africa. Anybody who knows how the nations of the world become what they are today, the powerful nations, must rise up to begin to preach truth to those who will listen. We know that it is going to be very, very difficult for those who have ulterior motive other than the civilization of Africa to agree to our line of thought. But it is better we start this campaign now than later, because delay is dangerous. Professor Lumumba also mentioned that if something is not done, if Africa is not renegotiated, if some of the countries in Africa are not renegotiated, we are going to expose ourselves to a serious danger. I am happy with that statement. I am happy for the fact that he understood that if we do not renegotiate, especially starting from a country like Nigeria, where the diversity is a very dangerous one, if we do not start to renegotiate as soon as possible, immediately, Africa a boy. Nobody wants to be part of that. Nobody wants to witness that. Every one of us here today, and those who will watch, and those who are watching, have a role to play. The role of every intellectual, like Professor Lumumba, is to change the narrative. What narratives are we changing? Changing the narrative, telling the authorities in Africa, go as far as reaching people in the Western world. We have to begin diplomatic process, telling the world and convincing them. We don't need to convince them because they know. But may I use the word convincing them to know the reason why they must accept the proposal that we want to be as developed as they are. When you talk about Africa, when you talk about Nigeria disintegration, they tell you if Nigeria disintegrates, that they are afraid that other African countries will follow Nigeria. And then I ask, what are you then afraid of? Is there something you know that you now believe that we may have come to know? Is there some kind of secret behind civilization that you believe that we shouldn't know? Because as far as we're concerned, some of us have lived in diaspora in the Western world for many decades. We've spent almost half of our life living in Western world. And if we learn nothing from this Western world, it means our lives, we have lived useless and unproductive life. We have come today to identify the reason and the secret behind the success of the Western world. And we say, we want to be like them. We want to be like them. We are Africans. We may not apply the same system like them, but we also want to do what they did that made them what they are today. And when you preach disintegration, they tell you they are afraid. It is now the responsibility of people like Professor Lumumba to take the lead, to enlighten, educate our people in Africa, the need to divide along tribal line. We are not going to do it at once. It is going to be a process. The process of Europe is still ongoing. As I'm talking to you today, European Union, you have the European Union, and then you have the member of the Schengen. You have the member of the Schengen state, you have the country that comprise Europe. Not every country in Europe is a member of the Schengen state. It is a process. As I speak to you today, many countries in Europe are applying to be member of the Schengen state, giving them the free movement, the right to free movement within the European Union. So it is going to be a process, a long process, but let us start that process from Nigeria. Nigeria disintegration will give the backbone for Africa, for the civilization of Africa, for the development in Africa, for the misgovernance, the correction, and all those impunities, corruptions going on in Africa. The disintegration of Nigeria will solve almost impending human rights and the crisis that is to befall Africa and the world. I was reading in one of the articles written by someone in Africa that Africa ready to take over 200 million people from Nigeria because Nigeria is about to explode. There is possibility for us to avoid Nigeria exploding. Everybody today knows that Nigeria is of it is going to affect every single person in Africa. We are now in a global village. Every single person in Africa, it is going to affect directly or indirectly. We do not want that to happen. We still have the possibility, the opportunity to make our voice heard. And like I said, I am very happy to be part of this program today. And Professor Lumumba, we are looking up to you to start changing the narrative as a Pan-Africanist. Thank you very much. May God love you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Simon. And thank you very much. There is somebody who has been told by the government somewhere in Zimbabwe to speak to us, or in his personal capacity, I don't know. Saxon, you have been very late. We are about to close, but from Zimbabwe, southern part of Africa, let's give you time. Saxon. Okay, thank you very much. You have 2 minutes to 3 minutes.
All right.
Tell us about the obstacles of the pandemic, how you are solving it, how you are prepared, how many hospitals are there, do you have oxygen, is oxygen a problem, what about the business? Is business being conducted? There's a new lockdown in Zimbabwe from 5 to 6 a.m. in the morning. So I don't know how you go home. Thank you.
Thank you. The lockdown has been an eye-opener to us, Zimbabweans in particular, that we need to start believing in ourselves, not to rely on other people. The fortunate part that we had, our vaccination program has been a success, a resounding success, despite us being under economic sanctions. This is a result of the magnanimous relationship that our government has forged over the years since the days of the liberation struggle. We are in a lockdown, but business is normal. We're just saying people need to conduct their business within the specified time. We're also having an increase in numbers, but the vaccination process is tremendously improved with long queues, people taking vaccination. They are now discarding the conspiracy theories who were against the uptake of the virus. And I think you are aware of the challenge that we have been having, issue of vaccines, the East-West war. People have started valuing their lives. They've realized that these vaccines that were taken from China and Russia, they are safe. We haven't had any side effects as compared to what others have experienced, like our neighbor South Africa, to what the conspiracy theorists has been saying. We're coming to think of it, our business, our economies are taking shape. Only yesterday, our press opened, the law opened, commissioned for production of transformers, where power has been a challenge in Zimbabwe, as we are relying on the Wange power station, which was constructed by the former colonialists. And when the import struck in, we couldn't buy space. And thank God, because of the relations that we've had with other countries, our power generation has improved. I think by year end, we won't be importing power, because normally during peak periods, we need 2,000 megawatts. Currently, we're producing about 1,400, but soon we will be self-reliant. Africa needs to start believing in itself if we are to develop and change the tag of being a third world country or a poor continent. This is we need to start believing in ourselves, change our education system. I think I once said our greatest undoing has been the curriculum that we inherited, which relegates us to be employees, not employers, and we don't have we can't control the destiny of our destiny. Our economy is taking shape despite the challenges that we've been having, because most of the modes of production are now controlled by the local people. We've now got over 500,000 small-scale miners, 300,000 people ventured into agriculture, because all the resources in the world are either mined or farmed. The reason why we were colonized, the reason why we've got all these wars, like Nigeria, is because they've got oil. The disturbance are as a result of natural resources. So I believe Africa needs to take a stand. So we are the youngest population. By 2050, our economy is likely to be the largest economy. How do you achieve that? By starting to believe in ourselves, investing in ourselves, trusting ourselves, empowering our own youth. We're the youngest population. We can do it. We need to start believing in ourselves. We need to have free trade area, coming up with a common language, which we can use, to which we can relate, because all people, we are Bantu people. If we start our history, we all come, most of the people in South Africa came from Central Africa. But because of the colonial boundaries, we can't believe in ourselves. We have good boundaries, we have good visit each other. But we are brothers. We need to start believing in ourselves. We can develop. I believe, I'm not a pessimist, I'm optimistic that the reason why I'm starting talking about this is it will send a message to whoever, to our youth, to the younger generation, that we can do it. There's nothing impossible. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First, I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you. Right, those watching and the millions of you will watch this summit across the world. We have spoken our minds. We have tried to bring out what makes Africa not prepared. Keywords that came out is, one of them is diversity, unity, ethnicity, being reactive. I think those are several keys. We might take, I think I've taken one point that Professor Lumumba said, we might take long to unite. I don't think, to be very honest, if a Kenyan wants to go to South Africa, you need to carry a box of documents to get a visa at the South African embassy, anywhere. So how are you going to unite? How? If you want to cross over to Somalia, you can't even take there your food, banana, to eat from Mogadishu. You need a special permit. How will you unite? Is it very elusive? It is. But the journey begins now. And you, the future generation, it is up to you, the younger men and the women here. I've not seen any woman from the diaspora speaking apart from Miriam, and I want to thank my PA for Pan-African Forum, Michelle Juno, who has been recording everything behind the scenes. Michelle, thank you very much, because whatever I've missed here, I'll get it. I want to thank you, madam. Continue doing that good job in a location which is known to me only, so that our notes don't disappear. Thank you very much. I want also to thank Simon. I want to thank Edward. And I will lastly thank the man from Zimbabwe who has just come in. I want to thank all, above all, the brother of Mr. Kanu, Nnamdi Kanu, who spoke much earlier, whose tape and the recordings we shall, play back to the world. We thank you very much for all your support. Above all, I thank Professor PLO to take his time to travel to the coast of Kenya, the coastal line of Indian Ocean, to be with us in this conference. Tomorrow, as Punchlin Africa TV, we continue with very early morning 8:30 session of our news for 1 hour, reporting from the coast. And we shall be talking about the things that we missed today ourselves. If you want to join in, it's up to you. You can listen and tune in from wherever you are. We can see so many people, correspondents, dotted around the coast. In the morning, they will be told to go around various points in the coast and give us as early as morning from each location what they have seen in conclusion as we wind up. I want to take the opportunity to thank those in the hall who have come, who have been my crew, who have been working from 6 o'clock in the morning to the 5:30 actually. I want to thank you very much. I want to thank the hotel for giving us the hospitality. The food is still plenty. Some people want to run out because they might not manage what is there. But we have to eat. And the professor, we invite you, sir, after your shower or your rest a bit, to join us together for a small cocktail at a place called Loco. What is it called? Loco. What is that club, that beach? The beach. Coco Beach. Yeah, because I am working the appetite of the people online, so that they can, the next time when I invite you, come in. I know Simon wanted to fly to come, but please enjoy the weather in Finland. For us, we've finished the conference and we want to go and do some other things. I want to thank all of you. Thank you very much. God bless you. God will always guide us. Now, before we go, I just want to pray again as we close. I ask all of you on your Zoom, we are praying now. Let's pray for the world, and let's pray for Nnamdi Kanu and other people who have been caught up in a situation of this nature in Nigeria, in Amazonia, in Central African Republic, in Libya, and in many other places. Let's pray. Oh God, thank you very much for keeping us here the whole day. Since morning, we have listened to various voices. We have listened to various speeches. We have listened to all the people from different opinion. We have shaped the opinion of the world towards the pandemic COVID-19. We have tried to find a solution, obstacles, success, where it has been successful, contained like in China. We want to see it done on African continent. We have prayed for Africa to be prepared for this because we don't know when it will end. It might not end as Simon said. It might be endemic and remains with us like a malaria. Let every African try to find out extra oxygen by trying to help what can create oxygen instead of creating wars, abducting people, imprisoning people, beating up people. Let government stop doing that. I pray to you, Jesus Christ, that today, let there be change. Let that change come through us. Let it come through the discussion that we have made here today. Let it give salvation to those that yearn for it. We do pray for Nnamdi Kanu to go through the process, and God guides us. We want to ask the Nigerian government to explain to the world how they managed to intercept a man who was flying and going wherever he was going, as far as they have said they intercepted him. They said they intercepted him. We don't know how, whether they had a plane in the air and diverted the plane. We want to find out the truth. And that truth will set everybody free. And we want to pray that Nnamdi Kanu speaks to somebody and tells us exactly what he went through, so that people stop making speculations. I pray all this together with our journey home and our next engagements. In the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. I have a beautiful song that I used to sing. And I want to sing this song. Prof, before you leave, I'll sing it in Uganda. And I'll explain it in, and I tell you a miracle. I'll tell you something. Prof, this song saved me. And this song goes like this. I want to say this song. The song to Baganda, to Ugandans, is this. Tewali munsi muno mulongofu songa tewali ba mugulu wabula abantu beyalongosa munabe mumusayi gwa Yesu munabe wabula tewali. And that song goes on. I think you know it. Tewali musi muno mulongofu songa tewali ba mugulu. That there is nobody on earth who is not a sinner. There is no clean So those guys who pretend to be going to church every morning better than others, they might not be good people until you reach the eyes of God. Have I turned into a preacher today again? I don't think so. Don't call me Bishop Matsanga, please. My father wanted me to be a bishop. Mumusai, 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 in the blood, I think. Can you translate it in Swahili? Hakuna mtu ya Kiswahili hapa kidogo. Mtu ya Kiswahili ndio huyo. Lakini, I think, Simon, you can see how divinity, Simon, you can see how divinity has gone into my head. One of these days, don't be shocked that you will find me with my church. Yes, my church. The 10 lepers who were healed, and the only one who came to say thank you. So there you are. So thank you very much. Thank you, all of you. God bless you. God bless Africa. This station, therefore, is for Africa, with Africa, by Africa. Ciao.
Thank you very much.